What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today I am diving into uncharted territory. I'm gonna read the Animorphs series for the very first time. Okay, so I recently acquired this full set, well, almost full. I mean, apparently the series is a lot bigger than I thought it was, and this is 1 through 15, and then 19 and 20 randomly. I recently acquired this set from a friend. He knows that I love spooky stuff and I love Goosebumps, so when his mom found like his old Goosebumps books, he gave those to me, right? Then they uncovered Animorphs and he was like, "You want them?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but like, I've never read them. So I thought, you know what? How about we nerd out about this together? When this was given to me, I really didn't know much about the books other than their terrifying, haunting covers. Animorphs is a science fantasy series of children's books written by Katherine Applegate and her husband Michael Grant. The series was published between June 1996 and May 2001 and consists of 54 books. And the books were also adapted into a TV series that ran from 1998 to 1999. I was a huge reader as a kid, and y'all know, like, I was into Goosebumps, I read a lot of Wishbone, you know, all the typical books at that time. And this one, for some reason, I never got into. Now, I remember going to the store, going to the Scholastic Book Fair, and seeing these, and being both fascinated and disturbed by the covers. They're odd. Like, they're kind of cool. Like, some of them are cool, and then some of them are like straight nightmare fuel, and I don't know how to feel about them. One thing's for certain, you couldn't help but notice them in both fascination and horror. I've spent my time just thinking it was a bunch of kids turning into animals. Why, I didn't really know, but you know, that's all I knew. Upon receiving this set, I learned that it's about aliens. I don't know how to handle that information because I actually have an intense fear of aliens. And maybe that's why I never read them. Maybe the universe was protecting little Tracy and her fear of aliens. Like, hey, like, look but don't touch kind of a situation. Maybe I will regret diving into this. So the series follows 5 humans and 1 alien that have the ability to transform into any animal they touch. That probably makes petting zoos really weird for them, I would assume. But as you can see on this cover, I'm assuming these are our characters, right? So you got like your alien dude, who I'm very concerned about, very worried about, don't know how to feel about. And then you have like all your other people, like mid-transformation into animals. I'm pretty sure one of them is transforming into a spider. I don't like that. I don't like spiders either. Can we not combine 2 of my greatest fears, aliens and spiders? Can we? I have to remind myself that I signed up for this. So I figured I would make a little video where I do a little reading vlog, if you will, and dive into this series that could either be really cool or fuel my nightmares for years to come. Now there's one very important thing that we need before we sit down to read, and that's we need a full water. Because if I'm gonna have to fight aliens, I need to be hydrated. That's the good stuff. Okay, look, I'm only 4 chapters, that's all I read so far. But we gotta talk about this while I cut up this apple for a little snack, cause you know, I don't know, I haven't eaten anything in like 2 hours, so my stomach's already growling. I'm just trying to relate to these characters right now. They have these 5 kids, they're at the mall, they decide to walk through a construction site to take a little shortcut to get wherever they're going. Lily, I don't know if you can hear the tippy taps, but she's coming because she heard food was happening. All right, so they're in this construction site. They see a UFO. This UFO lands, and this alien pops out, begins to sort of speak to them. It's kind of like telepathically, right? And he's like, oh, by the way, there's other aliens, but they're trying to kill you. You have to stop this, but there's only one way. You gotta touch this little box and then you're gonna get some powers. And they're like, okay, yeah, what powers? So he's like, oh, well, you know, you can morph into animals, but I don't have the time to explain all of it because there's dangers and there's complications and you can't stay as this animal for more than 2 hours or like you're stuck that way. And they say yes. If an alien falls down from the sky and has a telepathic conversation with me, I'm not gonna survive this conversation. Like, I'm probably gonna throw up out of fear until I die. I'm gonna faint. I might punch him, you know, cause like, it's an alien, I don't trust you. So right there, I'm like, nah. And then the fact that like, he can't even fully tell you everything about these powers, and they're just like, yeah, we'll do it. Which is why you don't see me like morphing to an animal in one of these books, because I would never say yes to this. You really want one of these apples, don't you? Let's give Lily an apple. It's only fair. And it is really cute when she eats one. One other thing I forgot to mention, these other aliens, so the alien that they talked to and got the powers from, I'll put in a visual of what he looks like. That's his face, but he's kind of got like a horse or like a deer body, okay? But the bad aliens, the ones that we're fighting, dear God, the descriptions of these things is disgusting. It's a lot of bugs, which I'm not, for a girl that has fake roaches in her purse, I'm not a fan. I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand unless you've read this. The descriptions of these aliens, okay? Okay, here's one. They were slightly larger than the Andalite fighter and shaped like legless cockroaches. Yeah. But then this is where it gets nasty. And I quote, they were like massive centipedes, twice as long as a grown man. So big around that if you tried to hug one, your arms wouldn't make it even halfway. Don't worry, I would not hug this. Around the top of their disgusting tubular bodies were 4 eyes, each like a wiggling globule of red jello. And at the very end, pointing straight up in the air, was a round mouth ringed by hundreds of tiny teeth. Nasty. I don't like it. Well, damn, like, they got me out here having, like, emotions in chapter 6. Who knew? A day later, I finished the book. And I'm not gonna lie, this was actually really fun to read. When I first started reading it, I was like, this is, I don't know if like reading this later as an adult for the first time, if I'm gonna dig it, because it was, you know, kind of a lot of these things, like Goosebumps, it's like, if you didn't like it as a kid, I don't really know if you can just jump on as an adult and enjoy it as much, but this was actually pretty fun. The alien stuff gets to be a bit much at times, but it's a fun little, you know, kids read. Okay, spoiler alert. As I mentioned before, the characters, the Animorphs, as they came up with the name, right? So when they morph into an animal, they can't stay that way for more than 2 hours. If you stay like that for more than 2 hours, that's you, boo. Like, you're that animal for the rest of life. Like, that's your life now. And one of the characters who had been warned about this, like, literally the entire book, because he was one of those dudes that's like, I'm a bird, bro. Like, this is tight. I don't want to be a human. He stayed too long, and sure enough, your boy Tobias is now a falcon for life. I did not expect that, especially in like the first book. So I don't know, I'm hooked. We're moving on to the next one. Let's go. While I'm out here, I'm gonna nerd out about my plants. Because, you know, we all skipped the midlife crisis and went to granny mode. Definitely need to do some pruning on this guy. He's gotten a little crispy, but I mean, he is growing like a crazy thing, which is really good to see. I have my bromeliads, which these got a little rough. When we moved, I had these at the old house by themselves for too long. So like the mom is pretty rough looking, but she has multiple pups, you can see. Like this is the main pup, and even the pup is growing 2 pups. So she has 3, the pup's got 2. And then this is a pup of hers that I had separated this spring, which is now growing 2 pups. We're about to have a lot of bromeliads. Maybe I need to become a plant lady, just sell bromeliads. Would you buy one? Let me know. So now that we like nerded out about my plants for absolutely no reason, book number 2. The Visitor, which I love this cover. So what's interesting, I guess, is that each one is gonna be from like the POV of each different kid. So the last one was Jake, this one is Rachel. Would you look at that? Another day where it's gonna get over 100 degrees. What a splendid day to stay inside and read. Yeah, I'm not going out there. Opening scene for this book, I am absolutely loving. Your boy Tobias, just like the last book left off, he's stuck as a hawk, right? So the 5 Animorphs, they're all hanging out as birds. They're riding the thermals. They're having fun in the sky when they see hunters that are trying to shoot at them. And so they're like, okay, we need to attack these guys and get their guns, right? And I'm just dying laughing at this sentence because I can picture it so perfectly. And I quote, "That bird has your gun, Chester, and that other one stole my beer." I mean, I can hear this. I've heard these conversations before, right? I assume I don't know where these people actually live. Did they mention that in the book? But like, I could just picture some like old busted Cajun dude like yelling about his beer, like more upset about his beer than his gun, right? Like I see it and I love it. It's cracking me up. Okay, back to this vlog I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I've been kind of ignoring this. There's been a lot of stuff going on in my life that I've had to take care of, right? But we're back in it today. We are going to get some reading done on the Animorphs series, but before I can go any further, my stomach is growling and I'm gonna have a very late breakfast. We're making some avocado toast because your girl is basic, but you know, it's easy, it's good. Let's make some avocado toast and chat a little. Reading these books has not only been interesting, avocado ran away. It never happened. This whole Animorphs thing has been a wild ride because this is definitely something that would have been my jam back in the day, but just for whatever reason, never read it, right? But it's been so interesting since I've posted that I'm reading these books, like the reactions that I've been getting. You know, it's been everything from people who are like, oh yeah, I loved the books, or I didn't really read the books, but I really liked the show when I was a kid. One of the best comments was my girl Ray, like talking about how much she loved these books when she was a kid and how they shaped her into who she is. And like, I can relate to that so much. This never-ending list of things that I need to get accomplished. I bought more plants this weekend because of course I did. If you follow us on Instagram, you saw I got this beautiful ZZ plant, and I also got a purple passion, which I don't have out here because I already repotted. But this bad boy, I thought he was okay, but he's not. The nursery pot that he came in, this soil is water. Like, it is just moist as hell, and I know he's not gonna thrive in this. So I think we have to repot him before I go any further and relax. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We're sweating outside because we gotta repot the plants. So this is my purple passion plant that I also bought. I had never even heard of this plant before I saw it at Home Depot. So I honestly don't know how easy it's gonna be to care for. I've done a little bit of research, but haven't dived too deep into it. But I just couldn't resist this thing. It's just like dark colors with this little purple, hairy felt looking situation. It was spooky, it was witchy. And for under $6, I had to have it. Anyway, y'all did not click on this video to talk about plants. I've just become full grandma and I have a problem, as you can see. So without further ado, less plants, more reading, let's go. Okay, I just finished book 2. I'm hooked, y'all. I'm hooked. Like, I did not think I was gonna enjoy this series as much as I'm enjoying it, but like, I'm all in. Like, I don't understand how I casually walked by these books all the time when I was a kid. Like, going, you know, to Walmart and strolling down the book section, going to the Scholastic book fairs. Why did I never pick this up? It was a mistake. Without further ado, we're moving on to book 3, The Encounter. This one is interesting because we're actually following Tobias in this one, or it's through Tobias's POV, right? Another spoiler warning, he is the character that morphed into the Hawk in the first book. He stayed in it for 2 hours, now he's stuck that way forever. So it'll be interesting to have the entire book, you know, just from a Hawk's point of view. I don't know, that's gonna be interesting, but there's your cover. And there is Tobias. I have finished the 3rd Animorphs book, and I got a lot of thoughts. This was the best one so far, but it hit me in the feels, and I was not prepared for that. So let's talk about this. Again, if you've never read the series, if you've never watched the series, spoilers ahead, all over the place. I'm throwing up the warning. This was depressing, which, look, I love a good sad story. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Again, this one is from the POV of Tobias, who in the first book stayed in his morph of a hawk too long, and now he is a hawk forever. Now, one thing about the series, that they talk about when the Animorphs morph into their animals is that when they're in the animal, they both have their normal human brain, but there's also the brain of the animal. And sometimes, depending on what kind of animal it is, they have to kind of fight that animalistic brain a little bit more than others. For instance, when Jake morphs into a lizard, he can't help but want to like run from things because he's scared, because he's tiny, and then he ends up eating a spider. So they have that animal brain still. So this one really delved into that, and it was just really sad about how, you know, here we got this guy Tobias, and he is not morphing for, you know, 2 hours and then I can just go back to my life, go to school, you know, go to the mall, hang out with my friends. Like, he's a bird for the rest of his life. And this one really focuses on how he is dealing with that and how his friends are dealing with that. And it is dark. He struggles with the fact that, you know, he's starting to kind of be controlled by these bird thoughts. So he like sees another hawk that he rescued in the beginning of the book, and he just thinks, oh, well, you know, I'll just go hang out with her, and, you know, maybe that's where I belong. I belong with the hawks. And then he has to fight himself, and he's like, no, I'm a human. I belong with humans, but he doesn't really belong in either world, and so obviously he gets depressed and he tries to commit mall suicide. That was a thing that happened in this book. Never thought I'd read a story about that, but it was so good, and like, it's written both in a way that, you know, obviously these books are geared towards a younger audience, not a 34-year-old woman, but it's written in a sense where I feel like somebody younger like is gonna understand it, but it wasn't like totally kiddish, because look, I'm gonna say it, I love Goosebumps, I really do. I'm a Goosebumps fan. But these are written a little bit better, a little bit more on the adult side than Goosebumps is, right? And so I feel like any age could get into this book. All right, so what did I think about the Animorphs series? I'm all in. I'm all in. Obviously, I don't have the full series. There are 54 books. There's a TV series. Apparently, there's like graphic novels. It's gone to a whole dang franchise. So it's probably bad that I've gotten into this. No, obviously I'm not gonna read up until 15 in this vlog, because this would just go on forever. Because y'all know me, I'm gonna get distracted. I'm gonna start talking about my plans. And I'm gonna be like, oh, look how cute Lily is. So I wanted to at least read these first 3 books of the series to get a good impression and kind of talk with y'all. But I do intend on reading the rest of the series. If y'all are interested in seeing more Animorphs reading vlogs, comment down below and let me know. I can do, you know, do it in parts, not just like, I'm gonna read all of these books and talk about it in this one gigantic video of boringness. But maybe I can do it in sections like this, read 3 at a time, vlog it out, let y'all know my thoughts and opinions. So just like quick summary of thoughts. Obviously, like I mentioned before, it is a much darker series and a sadder series than I thought it would be. You know, I really thought it was gonna be something like Goosebumps, that even though like Goosebumps is like scary, it's fairly lighthearted and doesn't really get too dark. But these make you feel things, and I appreciated it for that. It is quite nightmare-inducing because, you know, not only, I mean, some of these covers are pretty nightmare-inducing. I don't even want to look at this cover. It grosses me out so much. So that's nightmare fuel. And that's one thing that's interesting because, like I said, each of these 3 books was all through a different like POV. We start with Jake, we go to Rachel, and then we were with Tobias. And so each one is kind of like reminding us, like if you picked up a book in the middle of the series, you could to an extent kind of follow it, because they bring back points that were mentioned that maybe you would have missed or forgotten. And one thing is that every time somebody morphs, they're always like, y'all, it's gross. Like, there's one girl, Cassie, that can apparently do it in like a classy manner that it kind of looks cool, but for the most part, they're like, yeah, it's gross. Like, this is disturbing to watch your friend slowly turn into these things. It's body horror at its finest. One thing I will never understand is the fact that, you know, obviously when they morph to the animal, like they lose their clothes, whether it gets too big or it splits, whatever. And then when they come back, they're naked. So then they discover, well, if I wear something really tight, when I morph back to human, I still have that on. So they're wearing like, you know, leotards and things like that. Now, obviously, this is fantasy. We're Animorphs, people. We're turning into animals. But like, just because you wear a leotard, your clothes come back? I'm not, you know, like, how are we sciencing this? But I will tell you that if you have not read this series, I recommend it. Even if you are a 34-year-old woman, I still think it's there. The story is still interesting. The story is still compelling and sad and dark. So if you're a sad girl, if you got that emo streak in you, you're gonna dig this. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really had a good time filming this. I know this is kind of something a little different than, you know, we've done on the channel before, but I love reading. I've featured books on the channel, so I felt like a reading vlog was in order. And if you did like the video, give it a big old thumbs up. Y'all have no idea how much that interaction really helps the channel with the algorithm. And if you want to see more videos from us in the future, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that notification bell so when new videos hit the channel, you'll be notified. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you nerds later.